I think one of Avatar's greatest strengths has always been its world building. Everything is so fleshed out with types and tiers of different ideas that are constantly being switched up and changed around, which is why I think it's pretty criminal that the show has only had 2 series. I mean, I know the writers are moving on to different things, but I don't know about the IP. So with that in mind, here's 4 original ideas for a new series. I'm not completely sure if these are going to be shit and I'll look like an idiot, but whatevs. For a community built on telling creators that they're wrong, we certainly don't offer a lot of alternatives. So fuck it, I ain't no pussy. Bring on constructive criticism, bring it the fuck on! Idea 1. The villain Avatar. No, not that one was dumb. No, I mean like the Avatar. The true Avatar is born into a situation away from the White Lotus and everything else that's supposed to find out who the next Avatar is, and so ends up on a walk of life that makes him or her a bad person. So for a good 16 to 20 years, no one can find the Avatar, and then when the series starts up, she shows up in the role of an antagonist. And now there's a couple of interesting things you can do with this. Firstly, this gives you the opportunity for a Tarlok-ish mid-season plot twist where one of the main characters you've established not only turns out to be an antagonist, but the Avatar as well. Secondly, this setup would require a new main character that's not the Avatar. And you could have a bender, but the progression of a bender learning their craft is something we've seen before. Instead, I would have a non-bender, and instead of learning bending, their arc would be learning chi blocking. I mean, we've seen so much of the philosophy of all of the bending arts in their history, but what about chi blocking? I mean, there's potential for a lot of world building there that we haven't seen before. Okay, I just want more Dai Li. Just give me more fucking Dai Li. God damn it, why did you disappear? You're a chi blocker, not a cock block. There is the question of what these characters' roles and motives would be in the story. The best way of setting it up would probably be to have the main character searching for the Avatar. They could potentially be in touch with the spirit world, and the spirits are all like, hey, so, about that bridge between the human and spirit world? Yeah, so our bridge just kind of grew legs and walked off, and it doesn't seem to be coming back. Can you, like, can you go get that? And this character could be like, oh god, I don't want to be the chosen one, but he goes anyway and quickly finds out how helpless he is from, like, bandits and such, and finds a master to teach him chi blocking. The main character travels the world learning chi blocking. They pick up mysterious clues and backstory on who the Avatar is, and the clues eventually lead them back to Republic City, only to find it completely destroyed. They explore the ruins and eventually stumble upon the Avatar and the reveal of his identity as one of the city's bigwigs. But it's too late, he's already completed his plan of... This is as far as I got. Honestly, I can't find any kind of good motive for what the Avatar is trying to do and why. I mean, we've already had all of the obvious villainous political movements, anarchists, dictators, liberal. Maybe the Avatar is just a pawn of those that raise them, and the narrative around them can be about breaking the brainwashing that's been built up in them. But this makes them kinda underwhelming. The anarchist mentality that Sahir had is probably the most fitting in making them not inherently evil while still keeping them intimidating and in control of their own actions. But that's already been done, so It'd be cool to have a new equalist movement, and the Avatar could be the new Amon, but this would make the twist too obvious. There's a guy in a mask, the Avatar is missing, and this guy can take people's bendings. Oh yeah, I wonder who it is! But saying it all in Republic City, being more of a detective game as this character tries to find the villain's identity sounds cool too, even if it's trading some of the same ground as Korra. They could have a Korra-style run at some point, even revealing the identity as the Avatar, and after the main character gets his or her ass handed to them, they learn chi blocking in hopes of finding a way to disable a full-blown Avatar, which by the way would probably make for a cooler climactic final battle than a dumpy-ass CGI robot. Oh, but that thigh gap though. Idea 2. The Hydrophobic Bloodbender. Bloodbending is looked on as a totally negative thing in the series, but because of this, there's a potential for a unique character that contrasts this. A waterbender who can only bloodbend. And the logic of this can vary from anything from not waterbending because of some principle, being totally incapable of it in trade for being a bloodbending prodigy, or my personal favourite, being scared of the sight of water. It's perhaps a little silly, and you'd have to justify the fear properly, but if they wanted to bloodbend but couldn't bring themselves to do it without closing their eyes, then the only effective kind of bending they would have is bloodbending. More interestingly, I'd like this character to be a protagonist, and much of the story for them would be wrestling with the ethics of it. I mean, it could be useful. You can lift people or even yourself across gaps. You could increase the strength of your blows in fights by controlling the muscle. You could put the character in a position where they'd have to bloodbend someone against their will in order to save them, and they'd be like super apologetic about it afterwards, but it could start changes in the other characters as they come to accept and change their views on bloodbending, eventually letting this character bloodbend them freely in fights to assist them. Idea 3. The Outcast Avatar in the Spirit World. With previous avatars, we somewhat explored the idea of both wanting and not wanting to be the avatar, but I never really felt like it went far enough. I'd like to see an avatar completely rejecting that role or responsibilities and just running away to find themselves. Maybe not even learning bending in the process. I mean, we've seen avatars learn all 4 elements before, there's no real reason to do it again, so let's do something new. I imagine a stabilized world after the events of the 100-Year War. The Equalist movement settled, the Earth Kingdom in order, everyone has drunk some cactus juice and chilled the fuck out. An era of peace. The White Lotus, however, have become the uptight Lotus and are now more and more restrictive. This is because the Avatar is barely useful anymore. They've become a figurehead designed to look pretty and behave itself. Enter your Avatar. He's ambitious, free-spirited, maybe he has crazy dreams about show business, or maybe he wanted to own a coffee shop or something, anything. But the second they learned they were the Avatar, all their freedom was stolen from them. Because of their situation, they loathe being the Avatar far more than any previous one did. And since they don't have any real responsibilities in this era of peace, they run. But the Avatar Tsundere fan club is too powerful. Before he can leave the city walls to freedom, he is dragged back and confined to his bedroom, locked in with all the books to study. Maybe he kicks the books like, fuck this shit, but one of them catches his eye, a book on entering the spirit world. Maybe one of the White Lotus will come in and see him reading, like, oh good, he's finally coming around, he's gonna behave himself. And he just smirks, cause no amount of White Lotus goons are going to be able to bring him back from where he's going. So they come back in the morning, or potentially in the middle of the night, when that one Lotus member suddenly realizes why the main character was reading that particular book, and come in only to find him unconscious on the floor. So cue the satisfying panic as the White Lotus are like, oh god, the centerpiece of our movement has become a corpse, and unlike usual, we're not gonna get another one for like 80 years. Cause the new Avatar, he loves it here in the spirit world. He doesn't have his bending anymore. It's perfect. It's liberating. For the first time in ages, he doesn't feel like the Avatar anymore. He can just live here. And so the majority of the series will take place in the spirit world. See, another thing I'd like to see from Avatar is more of an emphasis on the spirits. You know, because I think I got kind of shafted in Korra. We did have a whole book on spirits, but rather than being dynamic characters like Wan Shi Tong and Ko, they ended up being pure good and evil, save for a couple of minor characters. What I'd like to see is the spirit as part of the main cast. And with the bulk of the story taking place in the spirit world, the friends of the main character would of course be spirits. We could potentially see a relationship between a human and spirit, which of course would have some interesting problems to deal with, and we could see personality types influenced by what kind of spirits they are. It would be interesting to see spirits' opinions be based on something tangible rather than just, I am the spirit of the forest, therefore I like the forest. Like, they could start off as just spirits, but if one spirit starts living in the forest and loves the atmosphere and everything and starts caring for it, it gradually evolves to become the spirit of the forest. Which kind of helps you avoid the flat character design of, this is the spirit of evil, so therefore evil 2D character design. Also literally 2D character design, huh. To be honest, I don't really know what the bulk of the story would be. I guess the core of it would be this main character coming to terms with and embracing being the Avatar. He'd travel the spirit world initially with resentment. Maybe he'd be the first to make up and bond with Wan Shi Tong, purely based on the fact that all they both feel for humans is betrayal. Could you imagine the Avatar and Wan Shi Tong with tea and biscuits having a fireside conversation about how self-centered humans are? Cause I'd fucking love that. After that, he'd start running into bad spirits and start questioning whether humans are both good and bad too. Maybe a childhood friend would enter the spirit world trying to find him and start making him feel torn between the real and spirit world, especially since now he's already made spirit friends. And the conclusion of the story would be, I don't know, him coming back to demolish the White Lotus and discovering a role as Avatar that's best for him, the world, and the spirit world. Perhaps he'll never even learn how to bend, and he'll just be the most spiritually adept Avatar in history. And with harmonic convergence being a thing at all, calling on the right spirits to help move society in a better direction could be like his thing. Also, he would get to own his own coffee shop and be history's most normal Avatar. It's different, you know? Idea 4. The Monster Bloodbender. We're clearly done with the whole family show thing after the Legend of Korra, so how about going a little darker? Alright, let me level with you for a second. So bloodbending is pretty screwed up. Watching Notok bloodbend wolves for training is pretty fucking screwed up. Having a villain bending animals to use them as living weapons is nope. And don't look at me like it's not possible. There are some pretty ferocious creatures in the Avatar universe, and some of them are very biologically simple creatures. So one could theoretically use bloodbending to flat out take control of it and use it to devour people. As long as its head is free, it's basically gonna lash out in response to anything close. Theoretically, it's a very effective weapon to use on waterbenders who can resist your bloodbending. There's also a psychological factor that no one's going to want to hurt the poor thing just to get to you, and fights around this character should be pretty complex and interesting because of that. I think it's pretty creative and deliciously messed up, but this is also going to make one hell of a hateable antagonist. I guarantee people are going to have big grins on their faces when the heroes find a way to close the gap, chi block him, and watch as he gets devoured by the very creatures he held prisoner. And then they have to kill the animals because now they have a taste for blood. I'm just kidding, poetic license. I also like this idea name because you can interpret it both as this character bloodbends and controls monsters, or this character is a bloodbending monster. Edginess aside, I'm also quite fond of the name Pokemon Trainer. And that's about it. 4 different ideas with mini ideas scattered in between. Look, I don't know if this video is cocky or not, but if you people from Nickelodeon are watching this, feel free to take any of these. I won't sue, you have my word. Man, I just want more Avatar. Just do something. You have a large as balls world, and you could be doing so much with it, and you're just sitting on it. So in conclusion,